Welcome to the Just a Normal Patriot podcast, episode 16. Warning: the following contains political commentary that may inspire an emotional response. Viewer discretion is advised.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
Point of no return. Consequence of action. A sweeping storm rolls through America, propagated by the establishment. A corrupt, permanent ruling class that resides within the nation's capital, following a mandate of self-serving consumption of wealth and power. Moral prudence cast aside, traitors without a soul. Our history has always been met by consequence, from our founding to current day, has been defined by the blatant defiance of patriotic warriors. Those who refuse to simply comply with the demands of the political class. The establishment is blatant and ignorant in concept and scope. They are dismantling America, selling its treasure and blood piece by piece to the highest bidder. Their corruption has shown no limitations. If the true extent was ever revealed to the population, our entire system would crumble, and you would see national cries for the obliteration of the ruling class. However, they are not fools to the way this game is played, precise in action, devious with intent, well versed in historical context and reaction, careful to not incite overwhelming anger amongst the population. Pushing the boundaries with every move makes American citizens accommodated to the continued degradation of their way of life. The establishment preys on our weaknesses and manipulates information, constantly reinforcing their self-serving narrative. Some have become aware of what is happening within our nation. Unfortunate circumstances have forced visibility into the public eye, casting doubts, dismay, and distaste for the broad-seated corruption that is running rampant throughout our country. The main point of contention why our nation is not interrupt conflict within itself is accommodation. Too much of the population believes there is a recourse to take. Too much of the population believes the propaganda they are consuming is fact. Too much of the population would rather see the destruction of our entire country than stand up to the ruling class. Too many do not understand the founding of our country. They do not understand the Constitution. They do not understand the Declaration of Independence. Ignorance, as it so happens, is the establishment's most powerful weapon. At what point is activism deemed unsuccessful? A blatant waste of time and effort. Our elected officials are supposed to represent the values and ideals of the constituents in which they serve. We have seen in mass numbers that this is not the case. We have seen more and more that elected officials only represent themselves and the narrative of the establishment. The American people have been forsaken, cast aside, And now the next pandemic is upon us. The pandemic of spontaneous repopulation of the United States. Open your eyes, gaze upon the southern border. 100,000 a month are pouring through our borders unchecked, unfiltered, flooding into American cities and streets. Who is paying for these people? We are, not by choice, but by force. We have no idea who these people are. How many are terrorists, communists, cartels, drug dealers are pouring through the border at record rates. States have begun fighting back with their own limited, scattered defenses against the federal monster that is extorting them into our country. The long-term effects of this current regime's policies will be felt for generations. It is time to rise above the ignorance, the name callers, the segment of the population that is supportive of the establishment's agenda. All effort must be focused on the removal of the establishment. We have come to a precipice, of which, if we do not invoke certain actions to restore the integrity of our nation, we are lost. There is no saving grace, no magic pill that is coming to rescue America. It is only going to be accomplished by brave patriots that have the audacity to stand against a corrupt system of our justice. Is not going to help us. Our laws are not going to help us. Our politicians are not going to help us. What is left to side with American citizens that demand a sovereign nation, tested by our foundings, and belief in our constitutional liberties? Well, the answer is each other. Other like-minded patriots that love this nation more than anything else and would die to defend it. Standing against the establishment, anti-American sentiment crushing it whenever it exists, wherever it exists. The time of choosing is our path quickly approaches. How we progress as a civilized people will be challenged if we continue down the path we are on. We will experience the complete and total submission of America's will, every revocation of its inherent liberties, and ultimately the destruction of our constitutional founding, which is the goal of the establishment. If there was ever a calling for American citizens to blatantly defy the will of the government, now is that call. The prospect for tyranny has never been more realized than it is right now, when the Second Amendment is revoked, and it will be. The constant assault on it is overwhelming. It is simply a matter of time. That is the last step, the last line in the sand to protect the freedoms of American citizens. If and when that time comes, America as we know it, as 200 years of patriots fighting for it, will effectively end. And we will transform into simply another version of a third world communist hellhole. The time is now. The country is primed. Already the seams begin to rip themselves apart. So much division amongst a population uninterested, uninvolved, uninformed. One can clearly see how easy it is for the establishment to completely roll over the population with its citizens unaware of what is even happening. It's time to get involved. It is time to stop blaming gross ignorance for other people for what is happening to our country. It affects every single one of us. And if we do not get with the program and get our stuff together soon, we're going to cross a line of no return, the point at which we will never restore the prospect of freedom in the United States.
Dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?